Hello and welcome back to the Central District Hoops Report. I'm your host, Justin Griffiths, and we have a doozy of a show for you as we finally have Central District matchups to go over, both on Wednesday and on Saturday. 5 games each, 4 district matchups, and a GRAC matchup for each day. So we have a full slate of games going for you. We have some key matchups as well already here in week 1. We normally don't see that until week 3 or 4 when it comes to the district slate. So big episode this week. Let's go ahead and jump into the first team, the Lakeland Lakers. And Lakeland had the only non-district game on Wednesday night as they took on the Warriors of Rend Lake College, beating Rend Lake 94-81, where the Lakers controlled the tempo from opening tip to the final horn. Let's go ahead and look into some of those stats now. For first, the team stats. Rend Lake shot 34 of 81 from the field compared to Lakeland's 36 of 61. Good for 59% for the Lakers compared to 42% for the Warriors. The Warriors lived from behind the arc as they shot the ball 33 times from three-point range, only connecting on 8 of them, while Lakeland was a little bit more diverse and was able to connect on 7 of 19 from three-point land. And again, Lakeland controlled the tempo in this ball game from opening tip onward. They never trailed in this ball game. They shot 15 of 17 from the free throw line compared to Rend Lake's 5 of 11. And Rend Lake actually won the rebounding battle, which for this type of matchup is to be expected because even though it's not a district game, it's still a conference game for these two foes. But Lakeland was able to clean it up defensively or offensively and only have 8 turnovers on the night. And that's what really propelled them, not turning the ball over, especially when it's a team that you probably should win against. Always great to see the turnovers down near the single-digit marks at this point in the game, especially when you have such a tough opponent like Rend Lake has been historically in the GRAC. For the Warriors, they were led by Elijah Mendoza, who was 12 of 20 from the field. He was on fire. He could not miss, and you see it here. He also grabbed a nice 12 rebounds for the double-double. He finished with 25 points, but he really also facilitated the ball as well as Navante Nesbitt was 7 of 14 from the field and had 14 points for the Warriors. And again, it was just a poor shooting first half for Rend Lake that kind of put the nail in their coffin in this ball game. As you see, Roland Adams was 6 of 21 from the field, 3 of 13 from behind the arc. And again, these Warriors really love to shoot the 3 ball. He did grab 9 rebounds to finish with 16 points. And Brandy Moore was 4 of 10 from the field. All 4 of his field goals were from three-point land. He grabbed 4 rebounds, had 2 assists, finishing with 12 points. But really, again, once you take out the starters for Rend Lake, you had nobody to go to the bench scoring-wise. While on the flip side, Lakeland was led by Devin Woods, who was 9 of 13 shooting from the field, had 9 assists and 5 steals. For 22 points. Samuel Hinkapai was 7 of 8 shooting from the field, grabbed 7 rebounds, had 2 assists, and had 16 points, And Stevie Tatum was 7 of 10 shooting from the field, had 2 assists, 2 steals, and 18 points. Coach Larry had 2 players off the bench that were able to contribute really well for him, one of them being Denham Leslie, and you see that here. He was 4 of 8 shooting from the field, had 2 assists to go along with 2 big block shots. Yes, it's a conference game, so it looks nice conference-wise. It doesn't help you in the district, but always nice to get block shots, especially when your team needs them the most in critical situations. He finished with 12 points. Peyton Weimer was 5 of 7 shooting, 2 of 3 from behind the arc. He finished with 14 points. So again, Lakeland was able to pick up a GRAC victory here, 13-point win. They led this hugely at the end of the first half, 53-38. Give credit to Rend Lake. They were able to battle back in the second half and win the second half, actually. 43-41. So big time win for Lakeland, getting their final tune, or getting a conference win on Wednesday night. Up next, you have Lincoln Trail versus Olney Central, and I was able to catch the first half of this game as I was flipping back and forth between a couple of different games, and this one was really tight in the first half. Olney Central jumped out to a 9-point lead to start the game. Lincoln Trail was able to battle back and take the first half lead late in the first half and go into the halftime with a 5-point lead at 41-36. However, Lincoln Trail came out in the second half like gangbusters and was able to pull away in the second half, winning this one comfortably, 87-70. Let's go ahead and look at the team stats, starting with the Trail. They shot 34 of 68 from the field, good for 50%. Good gravy, they were white hot. They were 5 of 18 from behind the arc, good for 27.8%. They were also 14 of 18 from the foul stripe. They won the rebounding battle against Olney 42-38. However, Olney did win the turnover battle. 8 turnovers for the Blue Knights, 12 for the Statesmen. On the flip side, Olney, again, they played a great first half. They just slowed down in the second half. They were 24 of 72 for the game, good for 33%. They shot 28 threes, only netting 8 of them, which on a regular night, that will get you far. However, in district play, it leads to long rebounds, and that's what the Statesmen were able to capitalize on a ton. Olney was 14 of 22 from the free throw line as well, and when you hit district play and you need to protect home floor, you need to be able to hit your free throws. So let's go ahead and jump into the individual scoring, and it was Ronnie Ellis as a starter. That's weird. Coach Cotton only has 4 starters on this game. Ronnie Ellis was 5 of 13 from the field, good for 13 points. Ja'Cory Phillips was 2 of 6, good for 6 points. Jared Jackson was 4 of 7 from the field, good for 8 points. He did have 5 rebounds. Phillips had 6 rebounds. Ronnie Ellis had 4 rebounds. And Ty Williams finishing with 9 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds off of a 4 of 12 shooting performance. Off the bench, I don't know where the 5th starter should have been, but Marlon Bennett and Gabe Omoreggi led the way. Omoreggi was 6 of 10 from the field with 7 rebounds, good for 14 points. And again, he was the key here, along with Marlon Bennett, that propelled the Statesmen in this win. Marlon Bennett, who was 7 of 9 from the field, grabbed 5 rebounds and had 18 points as well. Those were your 2 big go-getters here. Michael White did score 1 for 4 from the field and 3 of 4 from the foul line, grabbing 6 assists to go along with that and 5 points. For the Olney Central Blue Knights, they were led by Jaleel Bethea, who was 7 of 24 shooting. He had a great first half, cooled off a little bit in the second half. He did grab 10 rebounds to get a double-double and had 5 assists. He finished with 19 points. Kassam Nash was 4 of 8 shooting, 6 of 7 from the foul line. Grabbed 2 rebounds, had an assist. He finished with 16 points. And Cristobal Vargas, first time calling his name this season, 5 of 16 shooting, 4 of 10 from behind the arc, grabbed 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, had 2 blocked shots. He finished with 15 points for Coach Levina. However, Coach Levina only played 7 players and did not get any support off the bench, as Josie Ritchie here was 1 for 1 shooting and had 2 points. And no technical fouls in this ballgame. So again, Lincoln Trail able to pull out a huge victory over Olney Central. Always big to pull out road victories in this league. And just being able to pull out a statement win. Again, this is Lincoln Trail's first Central District win since the 2022-2023 season in the regular season. And before I jump into the next Central District matchup, I did want to cover the Mineral Area Olney game because last week, due to my broadcasting obligations, I was not able to record on my usual night, and there was no stats performance or posted for the December matchup between Olney Central and Mineral Area. Cristobal Vargas was 1 of 3 shooting good for 3 points. Kasim Nash was 8 of 16 shooting good for 5 of 8 from behind the arc. He finished with a team high 27 points. Logan Webb 2 for 11 shooting good for 4 points. And Caden Miller was 3 of 6 off the bench for Olney Central good for 7 points. And Josie Ritchie was 3 of 3 shooting with 8 points for the Blue Knights. Again, this was played last Saturday, or Saturday, December 7th. So I was not able to get stats. They did not have stats posted when I recorded. And due to broadcasting obligations that I have for a local online television station, I had to record this earlier than I usually do. So there are your stats for the Olney Central versus Mineral Area matchup. Up next is the Shawnee versus Kaskaskia matchup. Really the first big milestone test for the Blue Devils as they took on the Saints of Shawnee. And Shawnee was able to pull out a big 10-point victory here. They led by as many as 14 points at the half at 41-27. I couldn't find this game recorded anywhere, so unfortunately I wasn't able to watch it. But by the looks of it, and I'll show you here on the box score, it looks like it was a very tightly contested game in the second half. Obviously, the 40 to 44 points right there kind of tells you a little bit. The team shooting-wise as well tells you a lot here. Shawnee was 43% from the field, while Kaskaskia was 42% from the field. Good for 24 of 55 for the Saints, 29 of 69 for the Blue Devils. Both teams shot it relatively well from behind the arc. Kaskaskia was 5 of 16, and Shawnee was 8 of 17 from behind the arc. Free throw-wise, Shawnee doubled up Kaskaskia, 25-34, compared to 8 of 13. Kaskaskia, however, did win the rebounding battle by a substantial margin, 44-30, but the turnovers killed the Blue Devils here. They had 19 of them compared to Shawnee's 10, and that really, in a district game, especially one that is close in the second half, need to have those turnovers limited to the mid-teens, and Kaskaskia was not able to do that. But that is a huge shout-out to Coach Sparks. That's how he likes to run his team, is to get at you, and they will. They were led by Johnny Anderson, who was 6 of 13 shooting from the field. Good for 21 points, had 7 rebounds, as well as a steal and assist. All 4 of their 5 were in double-digit scoring. Starter-wise, Alan King was 4 of 7 from the field, had 2 rebounds, an assist, and 2 steals. Good for 13 points. Ladricus Pittman had 11 points off of a 3 of 10 shooting performance. I look for him to get better in the second half as well. He has a tremendous upside, and I really haven't seen it too much in the first half of the season. He grabbed 4 rebounds and had 6 assists as well. And James Deloche was 4 of 5 shooting from the field, had 5 rebounds, finishing with 12 points. Keshawn Washington, another player that has stepped up in the second, that will step up big in the second half of the season like he did last year. He was 3 of 6 shooting, had 14 points, had 7 steals. Like I said, he likes to get up in your face and force you to turn the ball over. He was able to do so against the Blue Devils successfully. Had 3 assists and 2 rebounds for the Saints. Kaskaskia, on the flip side, had 2 starters in double figures. Lionel Hodge, 6 of 11 shooting, had 11 rebounds. That's what he likes to do. He likes to put the ball up a substantial amount of times, but also go after the glass. He had 3 offensive rebounds. He did have an assist as well as 3 turnovers. He finished with 12 points. Markel Newsom was 5 of 13 shooting from the field, had 3 rebounds, 8 assists, really leading the Blue Devils there. Had 3 steals as well with 11 points. It was Terrence Hall off the bench for Coach Hancock and the Blue Devils 7 of 12 shooting for 19 points. And Dallas Harding Fair did not score. Did pick up a turnover, however. I was looking at Terrell Galbraith, who was 4 of 6 shooting from the field and finished with 10 points off the bench. Again, for Coach Hancock, he did grab 4 rebounds. In this one, Anthony Standiford picked up a technical foul as well. So he finished with 4 personal fouls, including that technical. And Standiford is going to be one of those that will play better in the second half, as well as Lionel Hodge and Markel Newsom. I look for Kaskaskia to rebound a little bit after this week's games. Shawnee was able to go out there, get a big road win against Kaskaskia. Again, Kaskaskia came into this game 9-1 on the season. And let's go ahead and actually talk about the other game that Kaskaskia played. Again, this was played while I was recording the district last week due to broadcasting obligations that I have. Let's go ahead and get to Kaskaskia here and talk about their game against St. Louis Community College right here. 76-70 was the final score for the Arches, being able to pull out a huge win. Lionel Hodge, see, this is what I'm talking about. Lionel Hodge picks up 27 points off of an 11 of 18 shooting performance. Also grabbed 13 rebounds, had 3 steals and 3 block shots. That is the typical Lionel Hodge's game. Markel Newsom, 5 of 10 shooting, 2 of 5 from behind the arc. He finished with 13 points. Miles Liddell was 4 of 10 shooting for Kaskaskia. Grabbed 6 rebounds, 2 assists. Finished with 12 points. And Anthony Standiford, 5 of 9 shooting. Again, something that I've seen from him consistently this year. He was able to pick up 4 offensive rebounds and finished with 13 points. However, once again, something doesn't add up. However, as you see, there's 72 points there, but the final score says 70. I don't know what that's about, NJCAA.org. But yeah, so that is the Kaskaskia recap of the Sunday game and the Kaskaskia versus Shawnee recap. Let's go ahead and jump into Wabash Valley versus SWIC. Like I said, Wabash Valley versus SWIC. This game was very, very interesting. I was able to switch back and forth during timeouts of the other games I was watching. Wabash Valley came out flat in this game. Now, that being said, they also had not played since November 30th. So that could have been a little bit part of their rust getting knocked off in the first half. They looked sluggish. They looked sloppy in the first half. And SWIC was able to build a lead. However, Wabash was able to come back in that first half and then really extend it in the second half, being able to pull out a 4-point victory against SWIC 76-72. Let's go ahead and turn to some team stats here to see what I'm talking about. SWIC was 23 of 61 shooting from the field, 10 of 27 from behind the arc, which yes, it's not 40%, but 37% I can live with if you're jacking up that many threes. Wabash Valley on the flip side was 27 of 54, good for 50% on the button, 8 of 24 from behind the arc. Again, can't really complain if you're hitting a third of your threes. Both teams did not shoot the ball particularly well from the foul stripe. SWIC was 16 of 25 compared to Wabash Valley's 14 for 22. SWIC was able to win the rebounding battle 36-31 and lose the turnover battle by a single turnover 15-14. Again, a lot of this was Wabash Valley playing their first game since November 30th. Not by their own design. They did have a game scheduled last week. It just got canceled on them. But let's go ahead and jump into individual stats. Starting first for the Blue Storm, Matthew Kerperu LZ was 6 of 13 shooting from the field, had 7 offensive rebounds, 14 rebounds total. He finished with 20 points for the Blue Storm. And Daquan Little was 4 of 10 shooting from the field, grabbing a rebound, an assist, and 2 steals. He finished with 12 points. And Bennett Briles, the lone returning Blue Storm player, was 4 of 11 shooting from the field and had 11 points. Nick Horace was 3 of 9 shooting. He finished with 9 points, so just shy of double digits there. Off the bench, Coach Harrington did get a couple of players to score. Dalton Hicks was 2 of 8 shooting from the field, and Brandon Klein was 2 of 2, good for 6 and 8 points respectively for the Blue Storm. However, Coach McGee and the Wabash Valley Warriors once again able to dig themselves from a big first half deficit to cut it to 3 by half and then overtake it and have a back and forth battle in the second half. They were led by Cole Furlow and Daniel Robinson, both 6 of 11 shooting from the field, finishing with 15 points. Robinson finished with 2 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals, along with 2 block shots, while Furlow had 6 rebounds and 1 assist. Again, both with 15 points, leading the way for the Warriors. Off the bench, it was Kamara Chandler, who was 5 of 8 shooting, 4 of 5 from behind the arc, and when I turned it back on towards the end there, he was lights out. He had 4 offensive rebounds out of his 9, and he finished with a team-high 17 points for the Warriors. Again, for the first time playing since in the month of December, it is good to see that they were able to knock off that rust. I'm sure they wanted to do it in a more convincing fashion, but getting a big district win here and being able to protect home floor is huge. So congratulations, Coach McGee and the Wabash Valley Warriors. And wrapping up Wednesday's slate of games was the game of the week that I warned you about, Logan versus Vincennes. This one came down to the final 10 seconds, like these matchups tend to do in the last couple of years. And this one I really focused on, obviously, being from Vincennes. But knowing this type of rivalry, knowing how well John A. Logan has been able to build up their program, this one was sit down, grab your popcorn, and don't leave your screen for a second. Vincennes was able to pull out a huge 78-77 victory. And again, I said it came down to the last 10 seconds in this ballgame. Vincennes had a 5-point halftime lead that dissolved quickly in the second half. Logan was able to come back and cut it and take the lead multiple times, especially in the last 5 minutes. And then Vincennes ties the game up with Michael Cooper getting an and one opportunity with about half a minute left to go. Logan comes down the court, gets a quick 2 with 22 seconds left, and then LeBron Thomas was able to hit what then turned out to be a game-winning 3 with 10.5 seconds remaining in the ballgame to pull out the huge victory. Like I said, this was the game that I focused on mostly. I was flipping back and forth between Olney, Lincoln Trail, and Wabash Valley SWIC during the timeouts. But let's go ahead and look at the team stats. Like I said, this one came down to the wire, and you can see it in the stats as well. Vincennes 27 of 52 from the field compared to Logan's 28 of 60 from the field. Both teams shot the ball lights out in the second half. Vincennes was 3 of 8 from behind the arc. Logan shot the ball better from three-point range, 6 of 17. They lived by the 3 a little bit more. Free throw-wise, both teams shot it relatively well from the stripe. 77.8% for the Blazers compared to 88% for the Volunteers. Rebounding battle, 32-30 in favor of Vincennes. And a lot of that came in the second half. John A. was able to get a lot of second half opportunities and was able to pull out, and you see it in the assists here in the second half. Again, turnover battle. Both teams really took care of the ball. 10 turnovers for Vincennes compared to 7 for John A. Logan. I mean, like I said, I said this when I was previewing the game, and I say it now. This was the game to watch. If ESPN could have been there, that should have been one of the games that they covered. This was an instant classic when it came to these two teams. But again, that's no surprise. Both teams really grinded out against each other, and you really see it here. Taylor Smith was able to lead the Volunteers off of a 7 of 18 shooting performance. He had 5 rebounds to go along with 2 assists, a steal, and 18 points. Devarius Lowry was 6 of 9 shooting from the field, 2 of 3 from behind the arc. Had 4 of his 9 rebounds being on the offensive end of the ball. Also had 4 assists, and he finished with 16 points. But that was really the only 2 scores as a starter. Julian Norris Jr. came off the bench for Coach Smith Peters, 3 of 7 shooting from the field. Had a rebound, 2 assists. He did battle foul trouble most of the night. He finished with 12 points. For Coach Franklin and the Trailblazers, they were led by the aforementioned LeBron Thomas hitting that game winner. His only made 3 of the game. He was 11 of 14 from the foul line, had 7 rebounds, 6 assists, and 24 points. Michael Cooper, he was playing banged up a little bit. We learned later on. He was 9 of 16 shooting, 2 of 3 from behind the arc. A great 7 of 7 from the foul line, having 1 rebound, 1 assist, and 1 steal. He finished with 27. These 2 led the way for the Blazers. As Coach Franklin, again, had a couple players that were close to getting in double figures. Brian was 4 of 6 shooting, had 8 points. And it was Ali Soko, who was 4 of 4 shooting, had 4 rebounds and 8 points for the Trailblazers. Again, this game was physical in the first half. The referees let them play. In the second half, they tightened it up a little bit. And again, big first game for both these schools. This is actually wrong. John A. Logan got a bench technical, while Vincennes, Brian, did get a technical foul there. So Coach Smith Peters did pick up a technical foul to go along with that. So that's the only misconception there. But again, this game was what you expected between these 2 teams, and it was, like I said, it was must-see TV, and this is definitely going to be a rivalry to come. Now let's go ahead and move on to Saturday's slate of games, starting with Shawnee versus Olney Central. The Saints were just able to, again, lead from the word go. They led 42-25 at the half, and not able to come back, wore the Blue Knights. As a team, Olney Central shot 24 of 70 from the field compared to Shawnee's 34 of 71. Olney once again lived by the 3. 7 of 30 from behind the arc compared to Shawnee's 4 of 18. Rebounding battle, the Blue Knights again just dominated in this one, 50-31. And if this turnover is correct, Shawnee only turned the ball over 1 time to Olney's 5. So, yeah, that's interesting off that one. Again, I try to watch these games as much as possible. I couldn't find Shawnee's webcast on this game. I was hoping that Olney would have had a camera crew out there to shoot, but they did not, unfortunately. So, again, I love sitting down and watching these games. So, if you know down in the comments where I can find Shawnee's games and Kaskaskia games, because last year they were on their YouTube pages. They are not on the YouTube pages anymore. At least the home games for this week were not on their YouTube page. So if I need to find somewhere else to look, please let me know in the comments below as we get ready for the second half of the district play. But back to this game, Olney Central was led by Jaleel Bethea, who was 10 of 22 shooting from the field, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 steals, finishing with 21 points. Kasem Nash was 4 of 11 shooting, 4 of 10 from behind the arc, had 4 rebounds, 1 assist, and finishing with 12 points. And Logan Webb, 5 of 21 shooting from the field. Had 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals for 11 points. And again, Coach Levina only played 6 and didn't get any help from the 6th man off the bench. Shawnee, on the other hand, had all 5 stars in double figures. Alan King had 11. He was 3 of 8 shooting from the field, 4 of 6 from the foul line. He had 5 rebounds, 1 assist, and 1 steal, again finishing with 11 points. Then we have Ladricus Pittman. He finished with 12 points off of 5 of 13 shooting performance, grabbing 4 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 steals as well. Then you had James DeLosh and Johnny Anderson, each with 14 points. DeLosh was 7 of 12 shooting with 7 rebounds and 2 assists. And Anderson was 6 of 8 shooting, netting a tray, and having 7 rebounds and 3 assists. Again, both finishing with 14. Coach Sparks had Jalen White come off the bench and perform well. 3 of 6 shooting, good for 8 points. He also had 3 blocked shots in this ball game. And again, in a ball game that I knew Shawnee was probably going to win, I didn't expect this type of route. Again, only playing with 6 players are Olney Central. Hopefully, they're able to get healthy and be able to perform like they were earlier in this season. On the other side, Shawnee, again, coming in, tied for first place in the early part of district standings at 2-0. Going into this ballgame, I said that the Vincennes versus Lincoln Trail game is going to be the most interesting game because of Lincoln Trail's improvement from last year to this year, especially after picking up that victory over Olney Central on Wednesday night. Like I said, Lincoln Trail looked really good Wednesday night. Vincennes had a dogfight Wednesday night against Logan. So this game, going into this game, was a toss-up. I saw it going either way, and luckily for the Trailblazers, they were able to pick up a 79-69 win. However, they did so while not looking very convincing on it. From a statistical standpoint, they did not lead by more than 10 points until the closing minutes of this ballgame, which is a big shout out to Coach Cotton and Coach Curry over there at Lincoln Trail. Unfortunately, going into the stats, I have nothing for Lincoln Trail. And I would really love to give these guys their flowers, their respect that they deserve off of this ballgame. Unfortunately, by the time I'm recording, I cannot. Vincennes was 33 of 60 shooting, 4 of 9 from three-point land, 9 of 16 from the foul line, had 32 rebounds and 12 turnovers. I will say that that Vincennes was playing with a player down. Brian Akanmu stepped up and was able to score 12 points off of a 5 of 9 shooting performance, grabbing 8 rebounds, an assist, and 2 steals, finishing with 12. Darson Onye was 5 of 9 shooting from the field, 1 of 3 from the foul line, grabbing 2 offensive rebounds off of his 9 total, had 2 assists to go along with a blocked shot. He finished with 11 points. LeBron Thomas led the way for the Trailblazers once again. 8 of 12 shooting for Thomas, grabbing 8 assists and 4 rebounds, and finishing with a team-high 22 points. Jalen Calloway was 4 of 10 shooting, just missing the 10-point mark. Had 4 rebounds, 6 assists, a steal, and a blocked shot as well for Coach Franklin. Christian Andrews off the bench and Hussein El-Miraji were your biggest contributors for the Trailblazers. 3 of 4 shooting for El-Miraji, and he finished with a rebound, an assist, and 2 steals for 7 points. while Andrews was 2 of 6 shooting from the field, had 3 assists and 2 steals, finishing with 6 points. And again, I wish I had stats for Lincoln Trail because these guys played their tails off. Very interesting game from start to finish. Anytime that Vincennes was able to stretch out an 8-point lead, Lincoln Trail was able to cut it down to 5, down to 3. So this game really was a milestone for Lincoln Trail. For Vincennes, you pick up the win going into the 2025 portion of your district schedule. You're top of the district where you want to be. For Lincoln Trail, you're hanging in there right where you need to be as well. This overall was a very entertaining game on both sides. Now let's turn the page to a team that was home all week, the Lakeland Lakers, as they hosted Kaskaskia in their district opener. And boy, what a district opener this one was. 200 points scored between these two teams. No defense was really played too much. I say that jokingly. But when you have 200 points between these two teams, it was a run and gun shootout type of game. And that's sometimes, as a fan, that is the most fun type of game. As a coach, that makes you want to rip your hair out. And Lakeland was able to pull out a 114-86 victory. Let's go ahead, look at the stats to see how it happened. Lakeland was 40 of 69 from the field. Kaskaskia was 28 of 64. Kaskaskia was 5 of 15, good for 33% from behind the arc. Lakeland was just white hot. 45% from behind the arc and 58% from the floor. It's hard to beat a team when they're white hot like that. Both teams shot the ball extremely well from the foul line. Kaskaskia was 25 of 30. Lakeland was 25 of 29. Kaskaskia loses the rebounding battle 37-35, and loses the turnover battle 18-16. But those are extremely close margins here. The game was close in the first half, 46-40 at the break. Kaskaskia was able to put up 46 points. However, like I said, Lakeland just was able to get white hot, and they scored 68 points in the second half in that ball game. Let's go ahead and look at some individual stats. Lionel Hodges led the way for the Kaskaskia Blue Devils, who was 11 of 18 shooting from the field, 2 of 3 from behind the arc, grabbed 6 rebounds, 2 steals, in a 30-point effort. And again, falling just short, but big applause to Lionel Hodges here. As Markel Newsom was 3 of 10 shooting, 2 of 5 from behind the arc, had 3 rebounds, 8 assists, and 5 steals to go for 14 points. Coach Hancock had 2 players off the bench, Clemmy Chandler and Terrell Galbraith, with 10 points. Galbraith was 3 of 7 from the field, had 9 rebounds, 6 assists, while Chandler was 5 of 9 from the field, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal. And again, this game was run and gun for both teams. Kaskaskia likes to play that way. Lakeland has always loved to play that way as well. And it just favored the Lakers a little bit more here. Samuel Hickapie was 10 of 11 from the field. This is the Hickapie that was deadly in the second half of the district last year. Not missing many shots, taking high percentage shots, and getting to the foul line. He was 9 of 10 from the stripe, grabbing 5 rebounds, 1 assist, and 4 steals for a whopping 29 points. But Coach Larry's team had 4 players in the high teens as well, in double figures. Johnny Jones, again, something that he was able to do in district play last year. 6 of 13 from the field, 4 of 11 from behind the arc. 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, and a block shot. He finished with 18 points. Devin Woods, 4 of 9 shooting. He was also 9 of 10 from the foul line. He grabbed 4 rebounds, 12 assists, and 3 steals, finishing with 17 points. Stevie Tatum was 6 of 10 from the field, 4 of 5 from behind the arc. Again, Lakeland just shot the lights out of the gym. in this ball game. Two defensive rebounds, 2 rebounds total, grabbing 4 assists and a steal, finishing with 16 points. Denham Leslie was 5 of 8 shooting from the field, grabbed 5 rebounds, an assist, and a steal for 13 points. And Joshua Bryant, not in double digits, but very, very close. 4 of 6 shooting performance, finishing with 9 points. He did foul out, however. He also grabbed 4 rebounds. So again, both teams like to run and gun in this game, and they were able to. And it just happened to turn Lakeland's way. I am looking forward to round 2 between these two teams later on in the year. Up next, we have a GRAC game, and this one took overtime to decide as SWIC pulled out the road win 92-87. And like I said, this game was as tight can be. As they score at half was tied at 34. Both teams score 45 points in the second half, so we needed the extra 5 minutes. Let's go ahead and look at the team stats. SWIC was 35 of 72 from the field, compared to the Warriors 29 of 65. SWIC 9 of 26 from behind the arc, compared to Rend Lake's 10 of 27. Again, both teams did not shoot it well from this foul stripe, with Rend Lake only shooting 0.5% better. Both teams turned the ball over 16 times, and SWIC able to win the rebounding battle by 5. So they win the rebounding battle by the amount of points they win by, 92-87, like I said. Once again, tried to catch this game listening-wise. Was able to here and there. So big shout out to SWIC for having at least an audio crew down there. I know they did have video as well, but where I was at, it was hard to get the video feed. For SWIC, Dylan Craven was 5 of 10 shooting, finishing with 16 points. Had 5 defensive rebounds, 5 of his 6 rebounds being defensive, and had 6 assists as well. He was the only Blue Storm player in double figures. Daquan Little was 3 of 9 shooting, 2 of 6 from behind the arc, had 6 assists, 7 rebounds, and finished with 8 points. Julio Regato was 9 of 12 shooting, 4 of 6 from the foul line, had 11 rebounds, 2 block shots, finished with 22 points. Off the bench for SWIC, also Brandon Klein was 3 of 5 shooting, all of that from behind the arc, finishing with 11 points for the Blue Storm. And then you had Bennett Bryles, who was the second or third person in leading scorer for the Blue Storm, 7 of 13 shooting, 1 of 4 from behind the arc. Had 4 turnovers, as long with 2 block shots and 2 rebounds. He finished with 15 points. For Rend Lake, they were led by Elijah Edoza, who was 9 of 15 shooting from the field. Had 7 of his 11 defensive rebounds. Had 3 assists, 2 steals, finishing with a team-high 29 points, leading 4 Rend Lake players in double figures. Roland Adams had 13 off of 5 of 13 shooting performance, grabbing 8 rebounds as well as an assist. Brandy Moore and Greg Cole had 10 points apiece. Moore was 4 of 6 shooting from the field, while Cole was 3 of 5 from the field, 2 of 2 from behind the arc, while Moore was 2 of 4 from behind the arc. Moore grabbed 4 rebounds, had an assist, and a steal, rounding out his scoring line. Also for Rend Lake, they had Owen Treat come off the bench and be productive, 2 of 7 shooting, both of them being 3-pointers, and he finished with 8 points to go along with 4 rebounds and 4 assists and 2 steals. So again, this one was really, really close. All these games were played at 4 p.m. Eastern time. So a little bit harder when I'm doing a broadcasting game or setting up for a broadcasting game and switching back and forth. So I was able to catch some of it, and that's why I said listening to it is always helpful. And so big shout out to SWIC. I think this is their first year doing a radio broadcast. So I wish that program all the best. I said this was going to be the game of the weekend between Wabash and John A. Logan. Boy, I couldn't be more wrong. John A. Logan was able to shoot the living lights out of the gym and took out their frustration on their 1-point loss to Vincennes against Wabash Valley, while they won 87-60, and they scored 54 points in the first half compared to Wabash Valley's 25. However, unfortunately, I can't see any stats on Logan. That's a shame, because John A. Logan deserves a great breakdown because they played a great game. Wabash Valley hung in there in the second half. They actually won the second half 35-33, but a huge first half deficit to overcome. Just not able to for Coach McGee's team. They shot 24 of 64 from the field, good for 37.5%. 5 of 20 from three-point land, 25%. They only got to the line 9 times. They made 7 of them. They grabbed 31 rebounds, but turned the ball over 19 times, and that is going to be where you lose ball games, is if you are still turning the ball over 19 times in a district game. The Warriors of Wabash Valley were led by Muja Burton, starting-wise, and total team points. He was 5 of 11 shooting. Cole Furlow was also 5 of 11. He had 12 points. Muja had 13. Muja had 1 rebound, 1 assist, and 1 steal, while Cole had 7 rebounds. And then Kevin Anthony was 5 of 6 shooting from the field and grabbing 5 rebounds, having 2 block shots and 11 points. Jameel Barber was close to being in double figures for Wabash Valley, as he was 3 of 9 shooting from the field, grabbing 2 rebounds, an assist, and 8 points. Off the bench, it was Mikhail Johnson, who was 3 of 9 shooting from the field, grabbed a rebound, had 2 turnovers, and 7 points. For Coach McGee off the bench, again, 6 players played off the bench for the Warriors, and only 2 scored. Not how you're going to be able to win games in the district. Again, I thought this was going to be a very close game. John A. Logan just played angry and was able to play great basketball. And unfortunately for Wabash Valley, they ran into a buzzsaw against Logan. With classes out of session, there is an extreme condensed schedule here before we hit the new year. Only 4 games to cover. That's why I'm not sure if I want to make a full episode or not. I might just touch on these briefly before we go into district play in a couple weeks. SWIC plays St. Louis tonight at 8:30 Eastern Time. They are playing against the Archers at the Archers. And then we have Lakeland against Illinois Central, 7 p.m. Tonight Eastern Time as well. And then Saturday, right before Christmas, Vincennes goes to Chicago to take on Malcolm X. That is 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Those are the only games that is on the slate for the district. So, yeah, a very condensed games. So going to be very interesting to see how all these teams rest up, enjoy the holiday break, before getting ready for the new year in 2025. Well, that's going to wrap up the 2024 portion of the district schedule. A lot of good games being played in 2024, especially in the non-district portion. We also had some key matchups early on Who would have thought that the Wabash Valley John A. Logan game would have been out of hand in favor of the Volunteers? Not me, for sure. But let's go ahead and look at the very, very early standings here in the Central District. Vincennes tops it at 2-0 with Shawnee, who's also 2-0. Lakeland holds steady at 1-0. Remember, they played Rend Lake on Wednesday, so that did not count against them when it came to district play. And then you had the Vols, Lincoln Trail, and Wabash Valley all tied at 1-1. SWIC 0-1 because they played Rend Lake on Saturday. Again, this is kind of the kooky thing that you'll see with all these other teams is when they play Rend Lake, they stay a half game back of everybody else. And then you have Kaskaskia and Olney Central at 0-2 at the bottom. But again, that's very early here in the district, and these are going to change multiple times before the end of the season in March. But let's go ahead and close out on one more note here. The top 25 was released this evening, and let's go ahead and look at the top 25. Right now we have the top 5 are going to be Snow, New Mexico Junior College, Trinity Valley Community College, Salt Lake, and Butler. No surprises there. You get Trinity Valley, who's always at Hutchinson, Salt Lake, who's normally at Hutchinson as well. Butler, one of those Kansas teams that always seems to be in the top 25. And Snow, a little bit of a surprise, but not really. They played really good basketball this year. As we move down, you see some teams that we've mentioned throughout the non-conference portion of the district podcast, and that's Indian Hills here. Jones, good to see them back in the top 25. Northwest Florida State, always there. Odessa, Southeastern, we talked about them a couple of times. Moberly, no surprise that Moberly's there. Triton, they have fallen off a little bit. They're still holding at 22. Coffeyville, no surprise there. And Monroe, no surprise as well. There are 2 district teams, however, that are not in the top 25, but they are receiving votes, and you see them right here. You have Vincennes right there next to Columbia State in Northeast Mississippi, and then you have Lakeland there as well. Like I said, when I saw Lincoln Trail there earlier this year, it's great to see 2 district teams getting national recognition in that. But that's going to do it for this episode. I might or I might not do a portion for the small amount of games that I preview, that I just previewed. So let me know if I should down in the comments below. But that's going to do it for this episode. I will see you all in the next one. Peace.